Hey horror fans, once again, it's the Horror Miser Monty G, and yes, it's time to do a recap of last night's thrilling episode of Purge. Yeah. Now, this is episode 5, meaning that we are now halfway through the season because this is just a 10 episode season, and things are starting to take a turn for some of our characters here, especially for Rick and Jenna. We'll talk about those two later. And of course, as always, all my recaps do contain spoilers, so once again, I will warn you if you have not seen last night's episode of The Purge, pause the video right now, go watch that episode, and then come back and then watch the rest of my recap. Okay, you got it? Fine, you have been warned. It's time for the recap. Okay, let's start off with Jane because she has more. She has a kind of an easier night that goes on in this episode. She has joined the Matron Saints, and she actually has an interesting conversation with one of them. It looks like we have another statistic that is brought onto the show. Apparently, there are a lot of conceptions are very high during Purge night, as the woman admits that 2 of her children were conceived on Purge night. But unfortunately, it looks like her husband was no longer part of the picture, and she told him that he got his just desserts, meaning that she must have purged him. He might have been abusive to her. So eventually get to the place where they see a man who is purging on his wife, and he's really going to town on her. They take him, wrap him up, beat the shit out of him. Well, they don't beat the shit out, but they tase him with a taser. I think her name is Melody or Marilyn. I forget the leader's name. Tases him. For some reason, the wife just sits there and says that's okay, but then all of a sudden she decides to go on their way. And what do the matron saints do? They actually take this brand with the word pig and brand it on this guy's forehead, so that way he has to safely walks around with this word pig branded on his forehead. The matron saints say this is a way that to remind all the women that this is a sexual abuser and you stay away from him, and the guy will be humiliated for the rest of his life. Poor Jane doesn't think that's the right way to do it because they said there are legal ways to do that, and they tell him, I said, yeah, right, who believes in that crap? Now, I actually find that line interesting, once again, as I stated in my last recap, with the current events going on today and the legal ramifications that's going on with a certain Mr. K. You would think, it would be amazing what would happen if the purge were real in this reality as opposed to what's happening in this fictional presentation of the United States. What would happen to said individual on purge night? Just thinking. But anyway, Janet decides to leave them, and she's off on her own, going, and she actually does make it to David's house, and he gets in. Now, before she gets to the Davis house, her mother does call her back, and she tells her that she's sorry, and if anything happens, to tell her sorry. Then she eventually enters into David's house, and that's basically where we leave off with Jane. We don't know if David's still alive, or is he dead, where's the assassin? We have no clue. It'll be interesting to see what's going to happen to her and the fate of David when we see that, obviously, next week. Meanwhile, things are not going well for Miguel and Penelope. They get the flashback treatment this week as we see both of them are struggling after their parents died. Miguel is full of anger, gets into fights, and poor Penelope, she's now seeing this stupid drug dealer that we know as Henry back then, and Henry falls in mad love with her. Now he does somewhat have an interesting story. On his own, as we learn more about him, he said his parents went in jail because he did a robbery. He's basically raped himself. He said he would like to go to all the national parks and visit them, but simply no way in the world a druggie like him is going to be able to save enough money and go to the parks. But during we see that during the flashbacks. One of the interesting flashbacks that we see is when Miguel gets ready to leave for the Marines. We see the supposedly leader of the cult, Travis, is one of the counselors at the rehab center that Penelope is in. So that's kind of interesting that we see her, and we know for a fact that she knows that Penelope will be easy pickings for her. But anyway, Miguel but right before they get to the Carnival of Flesh, Miguel beats up Rex the Collector and frees the landlady and her son out from the trunk, and eventually gets into the Carnival of Flesh, taking Rex's place and having Rex be one of the victims. It is before long before one of the guards recognizes Rex, and they get Miguel before he can actually get to Penelope. Now, at the same time, Penelope and Henry are having their little spat, and we see Penelope kind of go wavering back and forth, which I find her character a little bit inconsistency. You would think they have some consistency in here because at first she was willing to sacrifice herself for this cult, but now she's spewing some interesting facts that Purge is not going to resolve all the people's problems. It's not going to resolve anything, so you can go ahead killing me, but you still be the same loser that you are, Henry. Because it looks like the way he has her tied up to this pole and going to just have a pyre out of her and put her on fire. But good news, it looks like Miguel and Penelope have finally reunited. After the guards take him down, he hears Penelope and Penelope hears him, and they're reunited. Henry says, "Nope, I'll buy him." And they're finally reunited, probably not the way that they wanted to be reunited. So it looks like Henry's going to have his revenge on both Miguel and Penelope at the same time too. These two people can't catch a break. Now let's get on with Rick and Jenna, because they're the two interesting things that happen on this show tonight. Apparently everyone is in this adjacent room, and Mr. Stanton is talking about these knives that his wife, Mrs. Stanton, had handcrafted. And they look very sharp. And next thing you know, we see some undesirables that they captured for his guests to slay in. Guests to purge on. Now, Jenna obviously is shaking her head, and she's telling him no, and she's looking for Lita, but Lita can't be found. She's banging on the door. But the maid, Cantalina, tells her, "You need to get out of here quickly." And now, of course, no one probably saw this, but her and one of the butlers signaled each other. I wonder what's happening. So, we get back to the party. Rick is looking for Jenna, and Jenna is looking for Lila, which is kind of funny. It isn't until all of a sudden when Rick finds her upstairs and tells her to get away from the door that they start hearing gunshots. And they say, "Wait a minute, that's too close." And next thing you know, by the time they reach one of the windows, we see this whole group of people charge the mansion. And all of a sudden, there's a huge bloodbath, and they have broken through the security barriers of the Stanton mansion. And all of a sudden, all hell's breaking loose inside the mansion. Guess what? It's the anti-NFAA people. They have raided the mansion and are killing all the supporters of the NFAA. "Death to the NFFA!" They're shouting out now. And it turns out Kalina is one of those people. Now, this shouldn't come to any surprise that they would have the anti-NFFA in this show. We saw it in the movies, and both the Anarchy and Election Year. It's part of the show. We know that people are going against the NFFA, so why not have that particular part of the movies in this TV show? So it didn't surprise me. It was just where they're going to put it at. And I kind of find it fascinating they actually put it in this particular part of the show, which kind of makes it interesting because Rick and Jenna are not supporters of the NFFA. So it's nice to see that the maid was nice enough to not kill them and escorted them out of the building. Now, of course, Jenna asked what about Lila, but Kennedy said no, Stanton is safe tonight. But I suspect that we have not seen the last of Lila. She's too important a character to dispense away this easy, especially not off screen. And finally, let's not forget our man in the mask. Now, I actually find it interesting because that's Lee Turkison's voice on those tapes that he's listening to. And the final shot of him, he's getting out of his truck and he's getting ready to fight these purgers that are beating the crap out of this old dude. And there's one of him with this ball bat I think he has, and they're coming up to beat him. But we cut to black, and that's basically what happened on last night's show. Like I said it before, now the show, like I said, we're now 5 episodes in. We're halfway through the show, and it's pretty interesting to see what's going to happen to the characters. We don't know what the fate of Jane is now she's reached David's apartment. We don't know if Dave has something planned for her. Did the assassin kill him? We have no clue what's going to happen with them. Now that unfortunately Miguel and Penelope have been reunited, we don't know what Henry's going to do with the both of them. Obviously, Henry wants revenge. But I don't know if he's capable of doing anything. The guy's a drug addict. And unfortunately now, Jenna and Rick are now out in the streets and out in the open. And I'm pretty sure that there's going to be more to their marriage. And I'm pretty sure, as I said at the beginning, we have not seen the last of Lila. There's something in that relationship, particularly on Rick's side. I think he's going to be the focal point. I don't know if he's going to be purged or they're going to purge him. But I'm pretty sure we have not seen the last of Lila. So, horror fans, what have you thought so far of this series now that we're at the halfway point? Have you enjoyed the progression of the show? Or do you think it's just not happening enough because it's not the movies? Or are you enjoying it so far? Leave your comments down in the comment section below and tell me what you thought about The Purge. So, once again, that's my video for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you did, please give it a thumbs up because it does help the channel out a lot. And once again, if this is your first time here, please hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell. That way you can come and enjoy the horror experience with me, the Horror Miser Monty G. And as always, all my social media links will be down in the description box below as well. Once again, my name is Lamont Smith, better known as the Horror Miser Monty G. And always remember, horror rules. I'll see you later. I'm out.